"You're just not cut out for this role," Karen said, leaning back in her leather chair, a faint smirk in her eyes. "The West Ridge Hotel project requires someone with stronger leadership." I kept my composure, despite the familiar sting of her words, noticing colleagues peeking curiously through the glass walls. "The same Westridge Hotel project where my redesign saved us $300,000? I asked softly. Karen waved her hand dismissively. "My redesign? I presented it to the board after I created it." "That's your job, Sophia, to support me," she said, sighing dramatically. "Look, this isn't working anymore. I need someone who knows their place." I nodded slowly, a strange calm washing over me. "I understand perfectly. I'll leave on Friday. But Monday will be interesting." Always with the cryptic remarks, she rolled her eyes. "I am Sophia Vasquez, 49, Senior Project Coordinator at Reynolds Architecture and Design, and for 8 years, I've crafted innovative solutions for our clients' toughest projects, blending beauty with practicality while staying within budget and exceeding expectations. My obstacle? Karen Mitchell, 41, my direct supervisor and the firm's youngest partner, who has perfected taking credit for others' ideas, especially mine, and presenting them as her own. After years of claiming my work, she's decided I'm disposable, perhaps because I've spoken up, or others are noticing the pattern. Walking back to my desk, I pass the wall of project photos: the Westridge Hotel, Pinehurst Community Center, Lakeview Towers, projects I poured my heart into, all now bearing Karen's name. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "How'd the meeting go?" I replied, "She's pushing me out." "That's insane. Your coastal restoration project just won an award," he typed back. Settling at my desk, I retrieved the external hard drive containing copies of my original designs, emails, and documentation. Insurance I began months ago as Karen escalated from stealing credit to actively minimizing my work. The desk phone rang. Someone from Archer and Hayes, our biggest competitor, was in the lobby asking for me, claiming it was about a consultation I'd never done. As the elevator descended, a sinking feeling settled in my stomach. This wasn't just Karen anymore. Something far worse was happening. I've spent 27 years in architecture, starting as a drafting assistant in New York, advancing through complex projects while raising my daughter alone, and expanding my portfolio from residential renovations to commercial complexes to sustainable public spaces, which became my specialty. 8 years ago, Reynolds Architecture recruited me from Philadelphia, offering leadership, creative freedom, and resources to innovate. I thrived under our previous creative director. My coastal restoration project, a series of community spaces built with reclaimed materials and weather-resistant designs, became the firm's hallmark. Then Karen arrived, quickly aligning with our aging founder, Harold Reynolds, her approach calculated. Lavish compliments, strategic lunches, weekend invitations to her Catskills cabin, and a silent plan to take everything I had built. Within 18 months, she'd secured a partnership, the youngest in the firm's history. At first, I admired Karen's ambition, her presentations polished, client interactions smooth, and seemingly genuine interest in my designs, often stopping by my desk to discuss concepts. I took it as mentorship, perhaps even friendship. The warning signs emerged gradually. Collaborative presentations where my contributions went unmentioned, projects I initiated suddenly reassigned under her direct oversight, and meetings where she interrupted me or rephrased my ideas as her own. "Sophia had an interesting starting point," she would say, "but I refined it into something more practical." Harold, nearing retirement and increasingly disengaged, seemed charmed by her confidence, and other partners, mostly men over 60, responded similarly to her carefully cultivated image of competence, seasoned with just enough difference to their experience. My colleagues noticed the pattern. David once whispered, Did she seriously just present your riverfront concept as her breakthrough idea? Our receptionist, Jenna, began time-stamping my original designs before filing them, giving me quiet nods of support. I persevered, trusting my work would eventually speak for itself. When we won the Regional Design Excellence Award for the Coastal Project, I expected acknowledgement. Instead, Karen accepted the award alone, her speech excluding any mention of my contribution. That night, I began backing up my work, saving emails and documenting my design process with dated entries. Not for confrontation, but for peace of mind. Looking back, I was naive. Karen wasn't just opportunistic, she was methodical. Each appropriated design, each stolen concept, was a deliberate step in her advancement, and I had become both her greatest resource and her biggest threat. Our relationship settled into an uneasy pattern, her taking credit, me producing work, increasingly resentful but conflict-averse, until yesterday when she requested my complete portfolio files for archival purposes. Something in her expression, entitlement mixed with calculation, finally triggered my suspicions. In the lobby, a well-dressed man in his 50s extended his hand. "Ms. Vasquez, James Donovan from Archer and Hayes. Thank you for meeting with me." "There must be a misunderstanding," I said carefully. "I've never consulted for your firm." His brow furrowed. "That's strange. We have preliminary designs for our Portland waterfront project attributed to you. Karen Mitchell shared them last month, said you'd provided consultation." My stomach dropped. The Portland waterfront, a $50 million revitalization transforming the city's harbor, was my after-hours creative exercise, never meant for official sharing. "May I see these designs?" I asked, fighting to steady my voice. He pulled out his tablet displaying familiar renderings, my concepts, slightly modified, the core unmistakably mine. Elevated green spaces linking historical buildings with flexible areas for flood seasons. "These were presented as collaborative work between your firm and ours," James explained. "We've incorporated several elements into our final proposal." The room tilted in my perception. Karen hadn't just stolen credit within our firm, she'd been selling my ideas to competitors. "Who else has seen these designs?" I asked. "Our entire executive team, and we've already presented to the Portland Development Commission. They were impressed." He paused, studying me. "Is there a problem? I need to check something with my office. Would you excuse me for a moment?" In the restroom, I leaned against the wall, processing the revelation. Karen had taken my personal sketches, likely from my computer, and positioned them as collaborative work with a rival firm. The ethical violation was staggering, but more disturbing was the realization that this explained her push to terminate me. If these designs were advancing with Portland officials, she needed me gone before I discovered the theft. My phone buzzed with a meeting notification. "All staff, special announcement, 3 p.m. When I returned, the office was abuzz. People whispered in hushed groups, giving me concerned glances. David stopped by, lowering his voice. "Harold is flying in for the meeting." "Something about a transformative partnership with Archer and Hayes?" I guessed. His eyes widened. "How did you know?" "James Donovan is downstairs with my designs for the Portland waterfront." "Your designs?" David looked bewildered. "Karen's been working on Portland for months. It's what's getting her promoted to creative director." The final piece clicked into place. Karen wasn't just pushing me out. She was stepping into a role built specifically around the work she had stolen from me. I opened my email to find an HR message detailing my transition package. They weren't even waiting until Friday. Karen had accelerated my departure to today. My hand hovered over the external hard drive in my drawer, containing everything. Original files with metadata proving my authorship, emails, and documentation of my design process. Enough evidence to expose Karen's systematic theft. But would anyone believe me? She had spent years cultivating leadership relationships while isolating me. It would be her word against mine, and she had already framed me as underperforming and resentful. I closed the drawer without taking the drive. I needed time to think, to plan carefully. This was no longer just about credit. It was about professional ethics, potential legal ramifications, and my entire career. The conference room filled quickly for the 3 p.m. meeting. I took a seat near the back, ignoring whispers and concerned glances. Karen stood at the front beside Harold Reynolds, triumphant in a tailored navy suit reserved for important presentations. Harold cleared his throat. Today marks an exciting new chapter for Reynolds Architecture and Design. We're announcing a strategic partnership with Archer and Hayes for the Portland waterfront revitalization. On the screen behind him appeared the renderings James Donovan had shown me earlier, now branded with both companies' logos. This collaboration, spearheaded by Karen Mitchell, represents the innovative thinking that drives our firm forward, Harold continued. Karen's vision for Portland has already impressed city officials and secured preliminary approval. Karen stepped forward, beaming. Thank you, Harold. This project exemplifies our commitment to sustainable urban renewal. She clicked through my sketches, presenting concepts I had developed over countless late nights as if they were her own. Each slide twisted the knife deeper. To lead this new direction, Harold announced, I'm pleased to name Karen our new creative director, effective immediately. Applause filled the room. Karen accepted the promotion with practiced humility, thanking Harold for his mentorship. Her gaze briefly met mine, a flicker of warning in her eyes. When the presentation ended, I approached Harold. Could I speak with you privately about the Portland project? Of course, Sophia. Let's use my office. Hope sparked. Harold had always been fair, if somewhat detached. Perhaps he'd listen, especially with proof of Karen's misconduct. But Karen intercepted us in the hallway. Harold, we should discuss the transition plan for my role. And didn't you have that call with the board at 3:30? Right. Yes. He checked his watch. Sophia, can this wait until tomorrow? It's regarding the origin of the Portland designs, I said firmly. Karen's smile tightened. Actually, Harold, that reminds me, there are some concerns about Sophia's performance I've been meaning to discuss. Harold looked between us. Resource allocation, deadline issues, and project ownership confusion. Her implication was clear. She was framing me as the one with ethical problems. Let's address this now, Harold decided, gesturing us both into his office. For 20 minutes, I listened as Karen systematically undermined me, presenting doctored timelines suggesting I'd claimed credit for collaborative work, referencing performance issues that had never appeared in my reviews, and worst of all, implying I'd accessed her computer to copy her Portland concepts. That's completely untrue, I finally interrupted. I have proof that... Harold said, this isn't productive. Karen has documented her concerns thoroughly. Given these issues and the restructuring around our new partnership, we think it's best to accelerate your departure. You're terminating me today without investigating her claims? I asked, incredulous. Karen produced a folder. Your separation agreement, standard terms, 2-month severance. We'll need you to clear out your desk by the end of the day. Rage and disbelief warred within me as I stared at the document. And if I dispute this? Harold's expression hardened. We have documentation of performance issues going back months. Fighting this would only damage your professional reputation. We both knew what he meant. Karen had been building a case against me, manipulating records to create a narrative of incompetence. Even with my evidence, a legal battle would be messy, public, and potentially career-ending. I understand, I said quietly, taking the folder. Karen smiled sympathetically. I'll help communicate this transition to the team. As I left Harold's office, my phone buzzed with an email notification. Subject: Portland Waterfront Project Confidential, from an unfamiliar address. I opened it to find detailed information about upcoming phases, timelines, budgets, stakeholders, and a message. You should see this. Not write what they're doing to you. A friend. For a moment, I considered forwarding it to Harold as proof of my involvement. Then I realized it was a trap. Sharing confidential project information after being terminated could let Karen accuse me of corporate espionage. I cleared my desk methodically, packing personal items under the watchful eye of HR. The external hard drive with my evidence went into my bag first, followed by family photos, design awards, and the small succulent my daughter had given me. 8 years reduced to a single cardboard box. "I'm sorry it ended this way," Jenna whispered as she hugged me goodbye at reception. "We all know what really happened." "Thank you," I said, touched by her support. "Take care of yourself." Outside, I hailed a cab and sank into the back seat, finally allowing myself to acknowledge the magnitude of what had happened. My career at Reynolds over, my reputation potentially damaged, 8 years of work appropriated by someone else. My phone buzzed with concerned texts from colleagues. I silenced it, needing space to think. The separation agreement sat heavily in my bag, its terms simultaneously generous and insulting. 2 months' salary in exchange for my silence, and a legally binding admission of inadequate performance. At home, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. First backing up all evidence to a secure cloud account, then researching employment law and intellectual property rights. A knock at my door interrupted me. Through the peephole, I saw David, worried. "I came to check on you," he said when I opened the door. "Things happened so fast today." I invited him in, grateful for company. Karen had it all planned: the termination, the partnership announcement, her promotion. "It's worse than you know," David said, accepting the wine I offered. "After you left, Karen told everyone you'd been stealing her designs for months. She implied you were sharing confidential work with competitors." I nearly dropped my glass. "She's accusing me of exactly what she did." "She showed emails, Sophia, messages that looked like they came from your account, sending designs to outside firms." "That's impossible. I never sent." I paused, a horrible thought forming. "When did she say these emails were sent?" I asked. David thought for a moment. "Last month. Mostly she had dates. When you were on vacation in Vancouver, I realized she had access to your computer. She must have used your email account." "That makes sense," David agreed. "But she presented it convincingly. Even people who like you were starting to doubt." I felt sick. Karen hadn't just stolen my work and fired me, she was systematically destroying my professional reputation, ensuring I couldn't challenge her version of events. "There's something else," David said hesitantly. "A rumor that Archer and Hayes might hire you as a consultant after your non-compete period." "What? Why would they?" Then it hit me. That was her insurance policy. She was setting it up to make it look like I had sold my designs to them all along. David nodded grimly. "If you take any action against Reynolds, she'll use that narrative to discredit you." After he left, I sat stunned, processing the elaborate trap Karen had constructed. She hadn't just outmaneuvered me, she had planned multiple moves ahead, anticipating my responses and neutralizing them before I could act. My phone rang. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Ms. Vasquez, James Donovan from Archer and Hayes. I wanted to follow up on our conversation." "Mr. Donovan, I can't discuss anything related to Reynolds or the Portland project. I'm no longer with the firm." "Actually," he said, "that's precisely why I'm calling. Our leadership team was impressed with the concepts Karen attributed to you. We'd like to discuss a potential position." It was confirmation of exactly what David had warned me about, the job offer that would cement Karen's narrative of my betrayal. "I need to consider my options," I replied carefully. "Can I call you next week?" After hanging up, I opened my laptop and navigated through 6 years of email correspondence with Karen, searching for anything that could help my case. In a folder of project communications from 3 years ago, I found it. An email chain I had completely forgotten. Karen, seeking my input on a struggling project, had explicitly acknowledged my authorship of the coastal restoration design. "Need your magic touch on this one," she'd written. The kind of innovative approach that made my coastal project such a success. It wasn't just evidence of my work. It was Karen in her own words, confirming I was the true creator of the award-winning design she now claimed as her own. With renewed determination, I spent the weekend building my case. That email was just the beginning. I worked through my archives, constructing a detailed timeline of Karen's appropriation of my work. By Sunday night, I had compiled a complete dossier, original design files with metadata proving my authorship, email chains showing the evolution of concepts Karen later claimed, performance reviews contradicting her claims of inadequacy, and testimonials from former clients who had worked directly with me. Monday morning, I prepared to take action. My plan was straightforward. I planned to submit a formal complaint to the Reynolds Board of Directors, complete with my evidence, then consult an attorney about potential legal claims. As I reviewed my documents one last time, an email notification appeared from Harold Reynolds. "Sophia, concerning developments have emerged regarding the Portland project. Need to speak with you immediately. Available to meet this morning." Hope flared briefly. Perhaps Harold had discovered Karen's deception on his own. I responded, agreeing to meet at a coffee shop near the office at 10 a.m. Harold arrived looking haggard, the confident, firm leader replaced by an anxious older man. "Thank you for meeting," he began. "I'll be direct." After our announcement, Portland officials requested additional background on the design concepts. They were impressed with the innovation and wanted to feature the designer's process in their public relations materials. I waited, sensing what was coming. Karen couldn't answer their technical questions, he continued. When pressed, she became evasive. One official recognized elements similar to your work on the coastal restoration project and asked specifically about your involvement. "And what did Karen say?" I asked. Harold grimaced. "She claimed you had been her mentor, guiding her understanding of sustainable design principles." Despite everything, I laughed. Her mentor. She's been taking credit for my work for years. "I'm beginning to see that," Harold admitted. "Portland has paused the project pending clarification of the design authorship. Our partnership with Archer and Hayes is in jeopardy." "Why tell me this? I've been terminated, remember?" "Because Karen insists you have the original files that could resolve this issue. She's claiming you took them when you left." The audacity was breathtaking. Even now, Karen was manipulating the situation, trying to force me to hand over my evidence. "I have the original files," I confirmed, "along with proof that they're my work, not Karen's." Harold leaned forward. "Sophia, the firm's reputation is at stake. We need to resolve this quickly and quietly." "Reinstate me," I said. "Full position, clear my record, and remove Karen from any project involving my designs." "That's not possible. Karen is already announced as creative director." "Then I'll take my evidence to Portland officials directly and to the architectural press." Harold paled. "You'd damage the entire firm to get back at Karen." "I'd ensure proper credit for my work," I corrected. "The damage to Reynolds would be collateral to Karen's actions, not mine." As we reached an impasse, my phone buzzed with a news alert. "Archer and Hayes announces withdrawal from Portland Waterfront Partnership." I showed Harold the headline. His face fell. "It's already unraveling," I said gently. "You have one chance to control the narrative before this becomes a public scandal." Harold stared at his coffee, clearly calculating options. "What exactly do you want, Sophia?" "A public acknowledgement of my work, Karen removed from any project involving my designs, and I want to present my Portland concepts to the city officials personally. As for the termination, I haven't decided yet. but I won't sign the separation agreement. Harold nodded slowly. I'll need to consult with the board, but the Portland situation requires immediate attention. As he left, I received another email from James Donovan at Archer and Hayes. Portland officials were requesting clarification on design authorship and valued my direct input on the concepts Karen Mitchell had presented. Separate emails from a Portland city planner followed, asking detailed questions about sustainable elements in the waterfront revitalization design. While Harold deliberated with his board, the situation was evolving beyond his, or Karen's, control. The very clients Karen had impressed with my work were now reaching out to me directly. For the first time since my termination, I smiled. Karen had built her career by taking credit for others' work. Now, her inability to explain the design she claimed as her own would expose her fraud to everyone who mattered. Tuesday morning arrived with a sense of inevitability. After several conversations with Portland officials and Archer and Hayes executives, I had agreed to a joint meeting at Reynolds's office to clarify the design authorship issue. I dressed carefully, projecting confidence without ostentation, and packed the external hard drive with my evidence, along with printed copies of key documents. This time, I was fully prepared. The conference room fell silent when I entered. Harold sat at the head of the table, flanked by two board members, with representatives from Portland and Archer and Hayes on one side. Karen sat alone on the other, her usual poise replaced by tense vigilance. "Thank you all for coming," Harold began. "We're here to address questions regarding the Portland waterfront project designs." Karen immediately took control. "I'd like to start by expressing my disappointment that confusion has arisen about my work. While Sophia contributed some initial feedback, the concepts were entirely— Actually, I interrupted, connecting my laptop to the projector. "I think it's better if I demonstrate." For the next 20 minutes, I methodically presented my evidence: original design files with timestamps predating Karen's creation by months, process documentation showing the evolution of concepts, and most devastatingly, emails where Karen herself acknowledged my authorship of various elements. "As you can see," I concluded, "these designs represent my work, developed independently and without authorization from Reynolds after Karen took my previous coastal restoration project concepts without attribution." The Portland officials exchanged glances. "These are precisely the technical details we've been requesting," one said pointedly to Karen. "Details you weren't able to provide." "This is absurd," Karen protested, her voice rising. "She's manipulated those timestamps. She's trying to sabotage me because she's jealous of my promotion." "Actually," said the Archer and Hayes representative, "our technical team has verified the metadata. These are unquestionably the original files." Harold added quietly, "Our IT department has confirmed unauthorized access to Sophia's computer during her vacation last month." Karen's face drained of color as her carefully constructed narrative collapsed. "Harold, you can't possibly believe—" "I think it's time for you to leave," he interrupted firmly. Karen's downfall was swift and comprehensive. Escorted from the building that afternoon, she left behind a trail of fabrications that unraveled with remarkable speed once people began asking the right questions. The board meeting that followed was equally decisive. Harold, fighting to salvage the firm's reputation, announced my reinstatement with a promotion to creative director. Portland officials, impressed by my original concepts and detailed knowledge, requested I personally lead the waterfront project moving forward. Most satisfying was the company-wide email Harold sent the following day, publicly acknowledging my contributions to Reynolds's award-winning projects and clarifying that the designs Karen had claimed were in fact my work. "I underestimated you," Harold admitted when we met privately. "I should have listened when you tried to tell me what was happening." "Yes, you should have," I replied, unwilling to absolve him too easily. 8 years of my work had been attributed to someone else while he looked the other way, and his chastened expression confirmed he understood the magnitude of his failure. 1 month later, I stood before the Portland Development Commission, presenting my refined vision for their waterfront. The project was back on track, with both Reynolds and Archer and Hayes collaborating under my direction, a partnership now acknowledging all contributors properly. Karen had become a cautionary tale in the industry. After 3 other designers came forward with similar stories of appropriated work, her reputation lay in tatters. Last I heard, she had left architecture entirely. As for me, my career entered a new phase. The spotlight I had avoided for years now felt less intimidating. I established clear protocols for design attribution at Reynolds, mentored younger staff, and finally received the recognition my work deserved. Was it worth it? My daughter asked over dinner, celebrating my first major project launch as creative director. All those years of someone else taking credit. I considered the question, remembering Karen's dismissive words that fateful day. "You're just not cut out for this job." "No," I replied with a smile, "but the vindication at the end, that was definitely worth waiting for."